My name is Lucas Grant. I'm 49 years old, red-haired, and I've spent my entire life in this blue and white plaid shirt, jeans, and work boots on my family's farm in rural Oregon. I know every inch of this land, every tree, every rock, every patch of soil. But 2 weeks ago, my brown Labrador, Thor, found something I didn't know existed. Something that had been buried for decades. Something that changed everything I thought I knew about my family's past. It started on a Tuesday morning. I was plowing the west field, preparing it for spring planting. Thor was with me like always, running alongside the tractor, chasing birds, doing what dogs do. Then he stopped, just froze, staring at a spot in the freshly turned earth. His ears up, tail stiff. He started digging, frantically, desperately. "Thor, leave it." He didn't listen. He kept digging, dirt flying, paws moving faster than I'd ever seen. And then he barked. That bark, the one that means, "Come here. Now. This is important." I climbed off the tractor, walked over, looked into the hole he'd dug. And there, partially exposed in the dark soil, was a corner of something metal. Rusted, old, buried. A box. Thor wouldn't leave it. He sat beside that hole, guarding it, refusing to move even when I tried to call him away. It was like he knew, like he understood that whatever was inside that box was worth protecting. I grabbed a shovel, started digging, and what I uncovered would lead me down a path I never expected to walk. The box was heavy, steel, about 2 feet long, 1 foot wide, locked with a rusted padlock that crumbled when I hit it with a hammer. Thor watched every move I made, tail wagging slightly, eyes focused. I opened the lid. Inside, wrapped in oilcloth, were items I didn't recognize at first. Papers, photos, a military uniform, dog tags. I pulled out the dog tags first. The name engraved on them stopped my heart, James Grant. My grandfather. I never knew my grandfather. He died before I was born. My father rarely spoke about him. When I asked, he'd say, "He was a good man. That's all you need to know." But clearly there was more to know. I examined the other items. The uniform was U.S. Army, World War II era. The photos showed a young man in uniform, smiling, standing next to a German shepherd. On the back of one photo in faded ink, James and Rex, France, 1944. Rex, a military dog. The papers were letters, dozens of them, written by my grandfather to my grandmother, Sarah. I sat on the ground, Thor pressed against my side, and read. The letters told a story I'd never heard. James was a dog handler in World War II. Rex was his partner. They worked together in France, searching for mines, rescuing wounded soldiers, saving lives. But one letter, dated December 1944, was different. Darker. "My dearest Sarah, I don't know if I'll make it home. We were ambushed yesterday. Rex saved my life. He detected the enemy before they could attack. But he was shot. I carried him 3 miles to a medic. They said he wouldn't survive. But I couldn't leave him. He's my brother, my family. If I make it home and he doesn't, I don't know how I'll live with that." Tears blurred my vision. Thor rested his head on my lap, as if he understood. I kept reading. Another letter, dated January 1945. "Miracle of miracles, Rex survived. We're coming home together. I promised him that when we get back, I'll bury a box with our story in it. Somewhere safe. Somewhere on the land we'll build our life on. So that someday someone will know what we went through. What he did for me. My grandfather came home, built this farm, raised my father here, and he buried this box, just like he promised. A time capsule, a tribute to Rex. But there was one more item in the box. A small leather collar, worn, faded, with a name tag, Rex. Thor sniffed it, whined softly, and in that moment, I understood why he wouldn't leave the box. Dogs know. They sense history, loyalty, sacrifice. Thor wasn't just guarding a box. He was honoring Rex, a dog he'd never met, but somehow recognized as kin. I looked at the field around me. This land, built by my grandfather and a dog who saved his life. And I realized, I'd been walking on sacred ground my entire life without knowing it. But the story wasn't over, because as I packed the items back into the box, I noticed something. A small piece of paper, folded, tucked into the corner. I opened it, and what I read changed everything. The note was in my grandfather's handwriting, dated 1985, the year before he died. To whoever finds this, if you're reading this, I'm gone. And I hope you understand why I buried this box. Rex wasn't just a dog. He was my savior, my reason for living. But there's something I never told anyone. Something I've carried for 40 years. My hands shook as I read. In France, during the ambush, Rex wasn't the only one who saved me. There was another soldier, a young private named Daniel Morris. He threw himself in front of me, took the bullets meant for me. He died instantly. I survived because of him, because of Rex, and I've lived with that guilt every day since. I paused, breathed, kept reading. I tried to find Daniel's family after the war, to tell them what he did, but I couldn't. His records were lost. His family had moved. I failed him, so I made a promise. I would live a good life. I would build something meaningful. I would honor him by being the man he died to save. And I would bury this story so that someday someone would know. Someone would remember Daniel Morris, the hero no one knew. At the bottom of the note, an address. Faded, barely readable, Morris family, Portland, Oregon. I sat there, stunned. My grandfather had carried this for decades. The weight of survival. The guilt of living when others didn't. Thor barked. Once. Sharp. I looked at him. He was staring at the box, then at me, then at the field. As if saying, "What are you going to do about it?" I knew what I had to do. I had to finish what my grandfather couldn't. I had to find Daniel Morris's family. I had to tell them the truth. That night, I searched online. Daniel Morris, Portland, World War II. And I found them. His great niece, Emily Morris. She ran a small bookstore in Portland. I called her, explained who I was, told her about the box, the letters, the note. She was silent for a long time. Then she said, voice breaking, "We never knew what happened to him. His death was listed as killed in action. No details, no story, just gone. My great-grandmother died wondering if he suffered, if he was alone. Thank you. Thank you for giving us the truth." We arranged to meet. I would bring the box, the letters, everything. I would give them the story their family deserved. But before I left, I did something else. Something I knew my grandfather would want. I took Thor to the field, to the spot where we'd found the box. And I buried a new box. Inside, a photo of Thor. A letter I wrote, explaining how a dog, 75 years later, had honored Rex's memory by refusing to leave his story buried. And a note. To whoever finds this, dogs remember. They carry history in their hearts. And sometimes they teach us what it means to be loyal. Thor sat beside me as I filled the hole, watching, guarding, honoring. And I understood, this farm wasn't just land. It was a living memorial, built by a man and a dog who survived war, protected now by another dog who understood, somehow, that their story mattered. But there was one more thing I needed to do, and it would take me to Portland, to a woman who'd been waiting her whole life for answers. I met Emily Morris 2 days later at her bookstore. She was in her 50s, kind eyes, gentle demeanor. She led me to a back room where old family photos hung on the walls. I handed her the box. She opened it slowly, reverently, touched the uniform, read the letters, looked at the photos, and then she cried. Not sad tears, relieved tears. My great-grandmother used to say, Daniel was a hero. I just wish someone had seen it. And now someone did. Your grandfather saw it. And he remembered. She pulled out an old photo from a drawer. A young man in uniform. Daniel Morris. He looked barely 20. This is him. The only photo we have. Thank you for bringing him back to us. We talked for hours. She told me about Daniel. How he loved dogs. How he wanted to be a veterinarian after the war. How he never got the chance. He would have loved Rex, she said, smiling through tears. And he would have loved Thor. Before I left, Emily gave me something. A letter. written by Daniel's mother in 1946. I don't know where my son is buried. I don't know his final moments. But I hope he wasn't alone. I hope someone was with him. And I hope someday we'll know his story. Now they did. Because of my grandfather. Because of Rex. Because of Thor. I drove home that evening, the sun setting over the Oregon hills. Thor sat beside me in the truck, head out the window, ears flapping in the wind. When we got back to the farm, I walked to the field, to the spot where it all started. I knelt down, placed my hand on the soil. Thank you, Grandpa, for keeping your promise, for living a good life, for remembering. Thor sat beside me, silent, loyal, eternal. And I realized, dogs don't just guard our homes. They guard our histories, our memories, our souls. Rex saved my grandfather's life in 1944, and 75 years later, Thor made sure his story wasn't forgotten. That's the power of dogs. They remember, even when we forget. They honor, even when we fail. They teach us what it means to be loyal, to be brave, to be human. When Lucas found the box buried in his field, he realized why Thor wouldn't leave it. Because some stories are too important to stay buried. And some dogs know that better than we do. I learned something from all of this. Something I'll carry forever. We think the past is gone, buried, forgotten. But it's not. It's here. In the soil we walk on. In the stories we inherit. In the dogs who refuse to let us forget. My grandfather lived with guilt for 40 years. But he also lived with purpose. He built a farm, raised a family, honored the man who died for him by being worthy of that sacrifice. And Thor? He wasn't there in 1944. He didn't know Rex. But somehow he knew that box mattered. That history mattered. That loyalty transcends time. If you ever find yourself wondering if your life matters, if your story matters, remember this. Every life leaves a mark. Every sacrifice deserves to be remembered. And sometimes it takes a dog to remind us of that. Before we end, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell me, what city are you watching from? I'd love to know where Paws of History is reaching. And if this story moved you, if it reminded you that every dog has a purpose, every story deserves to be told, then hit that subscribe button, because we're just getting started. Thank you for listening, and thank Thor, because without him, this story would still be buried, just like so many others.
Paws of History, because every story leaves a paw print, and its memories stay with us forever.